This is part 6 of chapter 1. This is going to be the last part of the chapter. At the end of this chapter, I have attached some questions for you to attempt so that you can practice the chapter more diligently. So, attempt those questions, do it in your copy so that I can check them when we get back together. So, see you. Welcome back. So, in the last part, we talked about the patterns of residence and we talked about how humans started making tools, what were the different faculties that humans have developed which help them make tools like better organizational skills. We talked about greater memory. In summarizing the points, it is basically the neurological and anatomical adaptations that humans have developed with time that help them in making complex tools and helping them survive in these times. Apart from that, patterns of residence, we talked about that by chalking out the places from which the artifacts have been found in abundance, the historians have come to conclusion about the various places from which these artifacts have been found. And mostly the early humans used to reside in proper caves because it used to give them proper protection from the natural ravages and also from the attacks of the wild animals. So this was all about the patterns of residence and making of tools, which we have already read. Now in this part we are going to talk about the modes of communication, that is language and art. Now among living beings, you already know that humans alone are the creatures that have a language. Other than that, obviously other creatures also communicate with each other, but there is no such proper language as has been developed by humans. So there are several views on language development. First important view is that the hominid language included gestures or hand movements. So it was not like everybody started speaking immediately, like suddenly at some point of time. It was not like that. Language has had a gradual development with time. So the hominids were the first people who actually started communicating with each other, but not by a proper language, but by the gestures or the hand movements. So you know that sometimes we make such hand movements which mean a particular thing. So similarly, hominids might have learned certain common gestures which have meant something, and they might have used these gestures to signal at something. The second important point is that the language was preceded by vocal but non-verbal communication, such as singing or humming. Now, we know that before a proper language was developed, people might have used certain sounds to communicate with each other, like, whistling has different ways of whistling. So every type of whistle means a different thing. So similarly, different kinds of sounds that humans used or were able to produce at that time meant a particular message, and these sounds and vocal but non-verbal. Non-verbal means you're not speaking, but it still is vocal because you are creating a sound from your vocal cords. So you are using those sounds to mean something, and this is how the humans were communicating with each other at that time. And finally, the human speech probably began with the calls, like you must have seen Tarzan. Tarzan has one particular way, if you have seen on television. So that sound is actually a call to the other creatures or to his friends. It meant something. So language was not suddenly developed, it was just a gradual development which happened over the years, and the humans must have come into agreement with each other that this proper small number of speech sounds are going to mean this particular thing. So this is how a proper language was laid down. So, when did the spoken language emerge? Now we know that the language has no particular point of origin, but they have emerged over a number of years. So, what can be a probable time when we can say that language emerged? So, we believe that the brains of Homo habilis, we have already done the tool maker. So, they had certain features which might have helped them to speak, like their anatomical features must have helped them to speak, and this language might have developed around 2 million years ago from now. So 1 million means 10 lakh, so you can say 20 lakh years ago from the present day might have happened, that language might have developed. The evolution of vocal tract was equally important. So the vocal cords had developed over the years, and which enabled the human beings for speaking. A third suggestion is that language developed around the same time as art. Now, in art also, paintings are the most important artistic skill that humans have shown. Even now, we have certain caves in India also where, like for example, Bhimbetka paintings in Madhya Pradesh, they are considered to be the earliest, most example available for the Indians about the existence of early humans. So these early humans, since their primary most activity was hunting, because to survive they might have hunted animals. So in order to talk about their success at hunting, they might have shown it by paintings, by drawing paintings on the cave walls. So the art also developed around 40,000 to 35,000 years ago, and the development of spoken language can be connected with that of art, and both of them provided as a source of communication among the people. Not only just language, but painting also helps people to interact with each other. It helps to put out a message into the society. So these early humans not only just use sounds or language, but they also used paintings, etc., to deliver their messages. So hundreds of paintings of animals have been found from different parts of the world. You do not have to remember, like like the most important or popular place is Altamira in Spain. So these are various places from which the most ancient paintings have been found, and in these paintings there are depictions of various animals, and from these paintings we get to know that these animals were probably the creatures which were used by humans at that time for their survival. So more questions have been raised than have been answered, because we do not have any direct evidence that who were making these paintings, why do some areas were selected as a place of making paintings, were they being made individually or were they being made in groups, were women were the people who were making these paintings, or it was the men, whether all the paintings were about animals or it did mean something else also. So all this information we do not have the entirety of, like we cannot be 100% sure that whether what conclusions we have drawn from these evidences are 100% correct or not. So several explanations have been offered. One is that because of the importance of hunting, the paintings of animals were associated with ritual and magic. So because hunting was the most important activity that early humans used to perform, so most of the art of act of painting was about the ritual that was a successful hunt. So another explanation is offered that these caves are possibly the meeting points for the various groups of people, and in these meeting points they used to draw these paintings so that they can share techniques of hunting with each other, so that whatever techniques and knowledge they have about hunting can be shared with each other, while paintings and engravings served as a media for passing information from one generation to another. So to get their successors ready for the hunting purposes, these paintings must have been made. So now the historians also try to read the or analyze the present day hunter gatherer societies, so that they can find or draw conclusions about these past societies as well. So there are early encounters with hunter gatherers in Africa also, and people have researched these societies in detail to draw up conclusions about the hunter gatherer societies of the early human. Now, last point for today is the definition of anthropology. Now, anthropology is a discipline that studies human culture, what kind of culture you people used to follow, and also studies the evolutionary aspects of human biology, which means that how our anatomical structure gradually developed from the early humans to the present Homo sapiens sapiens. So, anthropology is a study of the human culture. Apart from that, it is also the study of the evolutionary aspects of human biology, that how we develop the certain physical features and a certain anatomical structure was developed. So this is all for today. So we will carry on in the next. So these are the practice questions. Please write them down in your fair copies and try to write proper answers. Thank you.